Women's comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful Saturday, and this is going to be a fun video. I was in a tag video from Collecting with Derrz. Guys, this is going to be an awesome one, and it's a very challenging one as well. This is my top 5 favorite comic book covers. Holy cow, do you know how difficult it is to pick 5 comic book covers? Now, it doesn't have to be in significance of price or keys. It could be something that's memorable to you, anything like that. So this is a huge challenge. So guys, if you love content like this, if you love top 10 videos, if you love covers, if you love me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, consider hitting that subscribe button, and thank you in advance. So a little bit from Collecting with Derrz. Guys, he is a great individual. He has a wonderful channel. He's just getting going over there, and he is a positive light in the comic book community and is looking to unite everybody in the comic book community. So go ahead, check out his channel, give him a sub over there. And again, he's the one that tagged me. So let's get started. And at the end of this, I'm going to tag the channels that will hopefully continue this chain. There's quite a few of them. All right. So the first book that we're going to talk about is Wolverine issue 1, the first issue of that 4-issue limited series done by Frank Miller. Now, why is this such a significance or in my top 5 comic book covers of all time? Well, I remember when I was a kid, I would drive to my local comic book shop, which was called Baseball Cards Plus. I would drive my bike all the way from my house, which seemed like forever, but it was probably a couple miles, and I would go to the shop, and they always had these books on a wall. And this book right here stood out to me, and I'm like, man, that's a great cover. Now, this book was made in 1982, so I was like, it was quite a while by the time I went to this shop, and you know, this book has been out because I started buying comics on a regular basis, like anywhere between like 14 and 15 years old. So when this came out in 82, I was 7. So I saw this, I was like, man, I want to get this book one day. Wolverine looks so awesome. So yes, that book is actually one of my favorite, and I have recently bought this book within the past year. It's not in the greatest shape. It does have a tear on the front cover, but I do own it. I'm hopeful to get a better copy soon. So the next book we're going to be talking about is a modern book, and I do not own this book. This is Venom issue 28, the Cal New wrestling belt Spider-Man trade variant. When this comic book cover came out, I was like, oh my gosh, this book or this cover is so original. I have never seen anything like it before. And this is the cover where Venom has the championship belt in his hand, and he's stepping on Spider-Man's back, and he defeated him in battle. Man, what a great looking cover. And I don't own this. How I don't own this cover, I don't know, but I think it still goes today for like 30 bucks maybe. I don't know, maybe more. Somehow, some way, I gotta get my hands on this cover, but it is a sweet modern day cover. And this is probably the most modern cover that we're gonna talk about on today's list. The next book we're gonna talk about is Spider-Man issue 1. Todd McFarlane, guys. Again, when this book came out, it was August 1st of 1990. Went to the same Baseball Cards Plus store, and there was pre-orders for this comic book. One of the biggest comic books sold back then, besides that X-Men issue 1, right? And I remember seeing this cover, and I was just dumbfounded the way it looked, with Spider-Man on that web, with all those webs all over the place, the big eyes. And I had no idea at the time that the same artist that did this comic book did the Amazing Spider-Man series at the time. That's how clueless I was. I wasn't paying attention to that stuff. I just loved the cover right there and then. It just looked so awesome. I knew I had to have it, and I was one of those people at that age that actually pre-ordered that book, and I was lucky. And when I went to that shop, when that book came out, the line was out the door to pick out its copy. Now, I never got the silver, and I never got the gold upon release or any of the other comic book covers for that one. I just got the plain Jane because that's all I could afford at the time. As years have gone along, I have actually I've managed to get the silver covers. I've gotten an autographed silver. I've gotten a gold. I've gotten the issue number 13 with the black suit. So I've had my share of those covers over the years, but still it holds a special place in my 15-year-old heart. All right. So now the next book we're going to be talking about is Ghost Rider issue 15. That glow-in-the-dark comic book cover released back in 1991. Guys, this comic book cover, I still don't have the first print today. I only have the gold second print. But nevertheless, I have that comic book cover. It still glows. And for years and years and years, when I was younger, I took that comic book and I've hung it on my wall. Now, it's still on the bag and board, and the board still protrudes a little bit higher than the comic, so I'm able to put a thumbtack in the bag and board, hang it up on my wall, and that thing would glow in a black light or whatever it is. And I'm not gonna lie, man, that thing is creepy, but that is such an iconic cover for the 90s. You want to talk about gimmick covers? It still holds up today, though, man. It is. Everybody knows who's been collecting comics what that comic book cover is. I should go out there and pick up the first copy of this or the first printing of this, but an awesome cover, great idea in its time. So, you know, you probably got to figure this out. My favorite comic book cover of all time, guys, has to go to Amazing Spider-Man issue 300. Same thing, drove to the comic book store. Probably next to that Wolverine issue 1 was that Amazing Spider-Man issue 300 that was probably right next to it, because I remember as a kid seeing those books on this wall, and I saw that cover, and what drew me to it was Spider-Man wearing that black suit, and then all those 300s, and I'm like, man, that is pretty cool, the 300 issue of Spider-Man. I was like, I gotta get that book. But at that time, that book was maybe $10 or $15, and little young me, you know, back in the day when this was 1988, right, when this was released, couldn't afford it, right? And it jumped up in price a little bit. I think it was like maybe $15, $20, right? And I couldn't get it. And for years and years, as I got older and older and older, there was a time where I didn't collect comic books, and it just got out of my price range. It wasn't until the year of about 2007, 2008, right before MCU and Spider-Man and everything else with Venom came out, is when I acquired this book on a payment plan at Comic Central for, I think it was $180, and that's a high-grade copy. And now you look at how much money this issue 300 is. So I struck it at the right time, right? And my shop was very, very, I was very fortunate that my shop put me on a payment plan to pay $5 here, $10 there, and whatnot. So that is awesome. So happy to have Amazing Spider-Man still in my collection, the only copy of that comic that I own. All right, so those are the 5, I would say, comics that, you know, covers that really mean something to me. There's great looking comics out there, but these books had to, you know, have a special place in my heart. And the only one is that Venom one that's not really like a key significance to my heart, but I just want that comic like really, really bad. I gotta find it, right? All right, so now let's talk about the channels that I am going to tag, and I'm going to message you guys so you make sure, hopefully, you do the video. I would love for you to do this. I think the rule was maybe 3, but I did 5. Who's to say you can't do more? I just wanted to recognize these channels in the comic book community. So the first one we're talking about is Comic Book Galore. He has 179 subs. The most recent video he did was a Spawn action figure video, and the beginning of that video was so creepy. His editing is really good, and he did me a solid one time by doing a video dedicated to me on like grading comic books. So I'm tagging him. Hopefully he gets a chance to do it. The next channel is SVon82, who just hit his 1K mark. So congratulations on that. So as a congratulations, I'm tagging you on this video. Hopefully you can come up with 5 comic book covers that are your favorites. Next, we have Comiverse, Tony, who's just getting started in his YouTube journey, just reached his 200 sub mark, so congratulations on that. Hopefully, you guys will check out his channel as well. Longtime follower of my channel, same with SVon82, longtime follower. Then, I'm going to tag Lunch Money Comics. He has 6K subs. He is a really up-and-coming YouTuber who has done a solid job. If you want to hear about him going out and hunting for comic books at strange and unusual places, go ahead and check out his channel. The man really knows how to tell a story, and that's what makes his channel so awesome. And he's going to be past me in like no time. I mean, he's been around for like maybe 7 months, and the dude's at 6K. Great channel. But Lunch Money, Mike, hopefully you get a chance to do your favorite comic book covers. Something tells me there's going to be X-Men in there. And then we have, of course, my good friend, Cat Comic Uno, who does the live stream Comic Book Weekly with me every single week. We have known each other for probably 10 plus years now, and she has 16K subs. She writes her own comic books, guys. She's a very hard worker, and she's been reading and collecting comic books pretty much her entire life. So I wanted to tag her to see what her favorite comic book covers are for her. So guys, there you have it. You saw my top 5. You saw the tag. Look for them, guys, to see when their videos pop up. Like I said, if you love the content, subscribe. It's much appreciated. I'm going to leave you more videos right here for you to click on. And of course, guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but more importantly, always read your comics. Guys, have a great weekend.